We all think we know Aesop's fables, right? The tortoise and the hare, the lion and the mouse, they're practically baked into our culture. But what if I told you the real story isn't about the animals at all? It's about the man whose name is on the cover, and maybe, just maybe, a single powerful idea hidden inside every single one of those tales. Let's dig in.
Okay, so let's start with this absolute gem of a paradox from G.K. Chesterton. His fame is all the more deserved because he never deserved it. What does that even mean? How can you deserve fame for not deserving it? Well, this one sentence, it's kind of the key that unlocks the entire mystery of Aesop. And it immediately throws a wrench into the one thing we all assume, that he actually wrote the fables.
So yeah, that leads us to our first huge question. Who actually wrote these things? The search for the genius behind these stories, well, it leads to a truth that's way more complicated, and honestly, a lot more exciting than just a single author.
So, okay, if Aesop didn't just sit down and invent these stories, who did? Was he even a real person? To get to the bottom of this, we have to do something really important. We have to separate the legend of the man from the reality of the stories themselves. On one hand, you've got the legend, which is super dramatic, right? This witty, brilliant, but deformed slave from ancient times, a lone genius. But the reality is so much bigger. These stories, these fables, they're universal. They're anonymous. They basically belong to all of us. So think of the name Aesop less like an author and more like a brand name. You know, like Grimm's fairy tales? The brothers Grimm didn't invent Snow White. They collected it. And that's what Aesop likely was. The first great collector who put a name to this ancient, shared human tradition.
All right, so we've kind of peeled back the layers on the man or the myth of Aesop. Now let's actually look at the stories. We tend to lump fables in with fairy tales, but they are fundamentally completely different beasts. And understanding that difference, well, that's crucial.
Here is the absolute core difference. A fable, it's like a math equation. Its characters are symbols, like chess pieces. The fox is always cunning. The lion is always strong. There's no character development, because that's not the point. But a fairy tale, it needs a person. A dragon is just a big lizard until a hero, a St. George, shows up. Sleeping Beauty, she just sleeps forever without a prince. Her story needs that human personality to even exist. Fables teach universal truths. Fairy tales are all about personal journeys.
Think about the wolf and the lamb. The wolf, upstream, accuses the lamb, downstream, of dirtying his larder. It's logically impossible, right? But it doesn't matter who this wolf is or who this lamb is. The story is a cold, hard demonstration of a universal truth. A tyrant will always invent a justification for their tyranny. The lesson is about power itself, pure and simple.
So, if these characters are just symbols, how does this all work? Well, you can think of it like they're operating with a kind of code, what Chesterton brilliantly calls an animal alphabet, a simple, symbolic language humanity has always understood, used to teach its most fundamental truths. The whole purpose of a fable is right here, to connect these simple creatures with simple, powerful truths. It takes all the messiness and complexity of human nature and boils it down to something clean, something elemental. And it's this incredibly direct connection, this animal representing one single, unchanging idea that gives the fable its unique power.
And here is that very alphabet. Each animal is a fixed symbol. The lion is strength. The fox is cunning. The wolf is tyranny. Now, this isn't lazy writing, you guys. It's the whole point. By creating this universal shorthand, the fable completely bypasses all the messy details of personality and psychology and gets straight to the moral. There's just no room for misunderstanding.
So you might be asking, okay, but why? Why do all this? Why turn people into animals? Well, think about it. If a fable used a brutal king and a clever diplomat, our minds would immediately start making exceptions, right? Thinking about their motivations, their backstories, their complex people. But by turning them into a wolf and a fox, by turning them into chessmen, the fable delivers its hard, cold truth with absolute, undeniable clarity. And this brings us to the real heart of it. If all these fables are using the same animal alphabet, the same code, could it be that they're all spelling out the exact same message? Well,
According to Chesterton, the answer is a resounding yes. There is one great, universal moral that ties every single fable together.
See, fables are built on what Chesterton calls philosophic certainties, truths that are as solid as rock. A stream can't pollute its own source. A tiny mouse can, in fact, free a mighty lion. It's the mountain that gives the goat its power to insult, not the goat itself. Each one of these isn't just a lesson, it's a clue, a piece of a much, much larger puzzle.
So what is it? What's the final answer to this whole puzzle? What is the one single truth that connects the arrogant hare, the tyrannical wolf, the powerful lion who needs the help of a tiny mouse? What are all of these stories, across centuries, trying to tell us?
Here it is, the central, unifying truth of every fable. Superiority is always insolent because it is always accidental. In other words, any advantage you might have, whether it's strength, speed, intelligence, or status, it's just an accident. It's luck. And because of that, the pride that comes from it is totally unearned. And, as every fable relentlessly warns us, pride always, always goes before a fall.
But Chesterton takes it one huge step further. He suggests this isn't just the moral of the fable. He says this is the moral of everything. The profound, humbling idea that all pride, all arrogance is ultimately built on an accident of circumstance. From ancient stories told around a fire to our lives today, maybe, just maybe, that one message has never changed. Thanks for joining us.